Welcome, everyone, to the Alive with Courage podcast. I have the pleasure of sitting with Ian Stevenson today, founder of Trellis. And I'm super excited, man, to be with you this morning. This to me is a conversation that's just loaded with adventure, loaded with faith, loaded with large rooms of big leaders that want to do big things for the city and for the county of Orange County. And so it'll be really fun to just dive into this conversation.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, Seth. You know how much I appreciate you and the coaching you've given me, the friendship, the questions you ask that help make me better. So, so grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah.
I hope it can serve some people.
Cool. Right on, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I received that. Let's just start. I mean, you have like a fun origin story. Like it doesn't even start in this city or county or country. Like it starts abroad. I'd love to just hear like just the origin story of like Ian Stevenson. Where did he take flight?
Well, super quick. I was born in Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland. And I mentioned that because of what I do now. There's a key to that origin. There's a lot of Protestant Catholic hate that was going on in Ireland during the 70s. Car bombs, it was very much all over the media, a lot of hate. And I think some of that's the root of why I want to see the church more united.
Whoa.
So I was born there. My family came over here when I was 3. Lived in New Jersey for a while, then Florida.
And a quick pause. You got me at car bombs. Just for like, was that part of just your daily life, or was it like your parents? It was in their face constantly?
It was in my parents. So when we came over when I was 3, we'd go back every summer, for a month or so. Not every summer, maybe every other summer. And every time we went back, I remember as a 5-year-old, as a 7-year-old, as a 9-year-old, the car bombs and the demonstrations in the street, the IRA versus the UVF, and, which was basically Catholic versus Protestant and all this hate. And, as a kid, it's like, well, isn't it the same Jesus? So, just sort of this historic division in the church was something that bothered me even as a kid.
Dang.
As I reflect. So I think that's maybe some of what God used to help lead me into what I'm doing now.
Dang, that's so good. So you came over when you were 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Grew up in New Jersey. My dad came over because he got a job opportunity in New York. So we were in the New York area for about 10 years. And then he got transferred down to Florida, Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
So we moved down there, grew up on the East Coast. I accepted Jesus as a kid. My dad came to know Christ as an adult in the Merchant Marines and had a radical life change and lived out a very authentic faith in my household. So if I got up early enough, I'd see my dad either on the couch with his Bible open or on his knees in front of it.
Dang.
And it was the real deal. And he was a leader in our church and community. And so I got to grow up in that household. My mom was Irish, fireball, just loved Jesus so much. So I accepted Christ when I was a little kid in Sunday school, Mrs. Wormelsdorf. I'll never forget it.
Nice.
But, as I grew up, really sports became my God. So I was very into football and soccer. And then as I got into high school, I realized I wasn't getting much bigger, so I focused on soccer. It became my God, honestly, even though I'd accepted Christ. Like my meaning, my purpose, my significance came from what happened on the soccer field. So I was determined to get a Division I scholarship. I did. I played my 4 years of college soccer, but during that time, I came to terms with God really being God in my life. Actually, right before one of our big tournaments, my appendix was ready to burst, and I ended up in the hospital and missed the tournament and ended up at church that weekend. And the guy was talking about what it really meant for God to be God in your life.
Dang.
So I was like 19. That's when I said, all right, God, you got all of me. Like I'm going to keep playing soccer, but you're first. You're it. So that was a huge moment for me. And it's at that time I started, leading in some ways. I started a ministry for boys through our church. It was a sports oriented ministry, competition and all that. And it grew in 1 year from about 20 boys to over 100.
Cool.
And it was just amazing. So I started to see some of my gifting in that space. And then got married shortly after I graduated. Got married. My wife's family had moved to Colorado. So we got married in Colorado, lived there for a few months. And then we wanted to spend the first part of our marriage seeking God, really. And I didn't want to go to school anymore. I was done with school. I wanted like practical, real life ministry. So we came out here to California to connect with a couple that were leading in the Navigators, which is a kind of discipleship ministry.
Yeah.
And Tony and Cheryl Naff spent a couple years really building into us. And while we were doing that, we helped start a church. We helped plant what's now the Crossing Church. And then 9 months into that, he asked me to come on staff. I said, man, you're crazy. I don't want to be a pastor. I've never wanted to be a pastor. And he's like, well, I think you need to be a pastor. And so him and one of the other guys on the board kind of kept meeting with me, and I said yes eventually, and ended up there 27 years.
Wow.
I was on that church staff for 27 years, got to see so many people come to know Jesus and see the whole thing grow from 40 people to several thousand. And
really cool.
It was an amazing experience. I learned so much from Tim Selleck, the lead pastor there, and he's my friend still to this day, very close. And he's like a brother. Don't talk to him every day, but when we talk, it's real,
Yeah.
And so that was a huge part. And then it was while I was doing that, while I was pastoring there, and I was actually leading teams of people around the world on some global missions. We had 5 global partnerships, and we were doing a lot locally. But I started to see the fragmented nature of the church. And I think maybe some of those things from my early childhood experience came bubbling to the surface a little bit. Like, this is so messed up that we can't work better together. So we had a pastor's prayer group here in Costa Mesa, and I just started speaking into it a little bit. I shared books with guys. We started talking about it. And I said, it's great that we're praying for the homeless, and we're praying for our neighborhoods and our schools. But when are we going to start working together? Like, when's that going to happen? Because faith without works is dead, right? That's what James says. So, So eventually, after many years, honestly, of prayer, they were ready. There was some really hard things that happened here at the city. Morale at City Hall was in the dumps. Financially, it was a mess. It was so bad that an employee who'd been handed a pink slip ended up jumping off the roof and that was a lot of the origin story of how Trellis got started.
Wow.
Back then we didn't call it Trellis. We called it One Church for Our City. And but that's how it started. Because, and it's a shame that sometimes things have to get started by a tragedy or so bad. It's like, it's sad to me sometimes that we just can't see what God wants and live into it.
Yeah.
Why does there have to be a tragedy to make it happen?
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be that way.
Well, we were talking before the podcast around this, like, when God gives you the tap and you step into obedience, like he's like, that'd be my preferred way in a lot of ways. Like, I'd prefer to move in that direction, but sometimes we don't receive the tap, and so it takes a strategy like that, like to.
Well, I think it's knowing how to hear the tap a little bit too. And like for me, there was this discontent. So I'm taking these teams all over the world, and we're dealing with problems like water safety and
Yeah.
gangs in certain countries and, all kinds of problems. And I'd notice all these nonprofits and all these churches, but they weren't really working together to move the dial in these countries. And like some of them, honestly, like really could have been resolved if they'd have just worked together. But there was so much competitiveness between the churches, so much territorialism, so much my people, and no, they're God's people, right? And they just couldn't figure out how to work together. And if they could, it really would have changed some things. I could see it. Being a sports guy and kind of getting the team thing, it just made sense to me. And then I started reading scripture. So this gets to how we hear the tap, right? I think sometimes there's something in our spirit that God puts there that's a discontent. This isn't how it should be.
It's like gives you these specific eyes to see it. In instances. Yeah.
And then as I'm reading scripture, I just start seeing all these passages about God's heart for unity. And then later on, his heart for the city, like Jeremiah 29:7. And then I'm reading Psalm 133, how good and blessed it is when God's people dwell together in unity. There, the Lord bestows his blessing and his peace forevermore. So like, do we want blessing in our cities? Do we want peace in our cities? Well, then we better figure out how to dwell together in unity. We got to figure out how to work better together.
Yeah.
So it just these things started to become so clear to me. It was part of God tapping me on the shoulder.
Yeah. So if we break down that tap, it's really interesting because, you've had your history, you've seen how the church can be fragmented and seen what that causes in Ireland or overseas and stuff. And then it's like, okay, that's word unity comes onto the scene and, you just start seeing unity everywhere. Yeah. And it's interesting to me that because you could take unity to marriage, you could take unity to business, you could take unity to all these different places.
The principles are the same.
Yeah. But it's interesting that God was like city, like unity, city, and that's curious to me how maybe it was just, I just kept seeing city all the time and that's what was registering. Was there anything else that really drew you to city versus all these other, your Ben and your daughter Meg are unity and family, I mean, they took unity and ran with it with family, so it's it's very interesting to me that city was the thing that popped on your radar.
It is interesting, and because even when you think about the work of Jesus, he died so that we could have unity with the Father. That's the whole reason. He gave his whole life for unity.
Yeah.
Unity between us and the Father. That's why he died on that cross. And of course, he wants us to fight. And even in our relationship with God, you have to work for that unity. It doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
You have to make the time. You have to have it as a priority. You have to be forgiven and ask for forgiveness. Like it's all that stuff that it takes for unity to happen.
Yeah.
And it takes effort. And then he wants us to do that in our marriage. He wants us to do it in our family. But to your point, for me, he said, I want you doing it in the city. And I think it was because of the church. When I was doing this traveling all over the world, I developed a love for the church. And the church is not perfect. It's a mess. It's because it's full of people.
Yeah.
But I've seen it all over the world. I've been in back alley churches in Kathmandu and mud hut churches in Uganda and, all kinds of churches all over the world. And I just love the church because what she does is beautiful when she's doing it well.
Yeah.
When she's loving their neighbors, when people are working in such a way that they're an extension of the church, when they're impacting the next generation through programs and schools and serving families and she's beautiful. She's beautiful, but she's also a little jacked up. She can be arrogant. She can be about herself.
Judgmental.
She can be judgmental. So I think it's because of my love for the church that evolved over the years as well. It was part of what if she could work together?
Yeah.
What if she could and so then as I'm reading in Ephesians 4 about fighting for unity, this is Paul writing to a bunch of house churches all throughout Ephesus.
Yeah.
And he's saying, work together. And then Philippians 2, all these house churches in Philippi, he's saying in Philippians 2, be of one mind and one person. If Christ means anything to you, be of one mind in one purpose. Don't just stay in your little house church with people you like that you're comfortable with. Figure out how to work together.
Dang.
Like that message was written to the church of a city, not to a congregation in a city.
Yeah.
Because those letters were passed all around through the city.
Yeah.
So they're all reading this. Be of one mind, like, I mean, we got to work with them, but they're harder to work with. I like these people in my house.
Yeah.
Right?
People I've chosen. Yeah.
But it's when the church is willing to hear God's tap on the shoulder around this stuff that we demonstrate to the world what unity is, what forgiveness is, what grace is, what showing and sharing God's love looks like. We can do it better when we're doing it more together. So it was the combination of my sports background, I think, too, just like, man, if we were a team, like we could impact this city, like we could make a difference. And so that was a lot of what fed it.
Dang.
Yeah.
So Trellis is born.
Yeah.
And you end up leaving the Crossing Church to go launch this concept of unity in the city. Well,
I want to be clear, like,
okay,
it was a group of us. It wasn't just me. Like, It was that prayer group. And we all read a book together called To Transform the City by actually now a mentor of mine named Eric Swanson.
Cool.
And it outlined, so it gave us some common language and some thinking. And so together we started doing this. And as we started caring for the homeless and helping the collective church get involved in that in an effective way, so we started praying more, as we started impacting the schools, getting the churches involved with the schools, doing all these things, starting to work together, neighboring, what does it look like to have a neighboring network? God was working. Like, it was amazing. So just in 1 year, there was so much going on that our little group pulled in like a consulting guy to help us figure out what's next. And it was in that, I'll never forget that meeting at Dave and Linnell Brooks' house. He said, well, who's leading this? And we said, well, no, we're leading it. It's collaborative. It's collective. He said, well, you can still make decisions together. You can still do, but someone's got to lead and kind of give direction to it. And that's where the tap almost felt, like I physically could feel it. And so everyone kind of pointed to me, and I knew God had been tapping me. And I'm like, all right, I was still, working full time as a pastor. And I said, all right, I'll help bring leadership to this. And so we started organizing and having roles and things people were responsible for, and started walking out. And it just kept on gaining momentum.
Yeah.
So then it got to the point where we needed to have funds flowing. So we created a 501c3, had a tremendous board right from the jump. We had a really strong board, and it just continued to move.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened. It, we kept doing it, from, it started grassroots 2011, nonprofit 2013. The board in 2014 said, if this is going to really go anywhere, you have to decide, are you going to lead this? And so that's when I gave the Crossing a year's notice.
Yeah.
And I stepped off, which was a very big step.
Yeah.
I stepped off staff to give full-time attention to this. So I had to raise support and everything right from the beginning, and been leading it since then. So in that was 2015, I started doing it full-time. And then 2020, during COVID, other cities around us started noticing, wow, what's going on over there? Because COVID kind of created a greater need for the teamwork. And we were doing it.
Yeah.
And other cities noticed, and they started asking for help.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, we still got a lot of work to do here in Costa Mesa. Like, God, I don't, But he was tapping me again. He was saying, no, I want you to try to help.
Dang.
So that's when we started trying to figure out how can we help other cities develop a movement of God in their city. How can we get the churches working together, get them involved with the businesses, with the nonprofits, with the city hall in such a way that it creates a movement in the city where we're not just talking about trying to impact our neighbors and people, like we're actually putting in place things that help us do it.
Wow.
So that's in a nutshell the story.
So good. Yeah, and I think I encountered you around 2013 or 14, just at a coffee, just seeing how homelessness was such a blight, like on our town in Costa Mesa, and just you're driving everywhere, and other cities are dropping people that are experiencing homelessness into our city. And Costa Mesa is kind of becoming one of the epicenters for just the homeless thing going on in Orange County at large. And I mean, I was like, who cares about this, and your name came up as the person that was actually unifying church around this and trying to figure out strategy around this. And it's like, 10 years later, we have like an incredible system to go serve people that are excited about jumping off in an experience of homelessness and into more stability, jobs, like life again. I mean, that's been, I feel like that's like one thing we can all point to and go, wow, the church did something, right? And
I want to be clear on that. That's a great example, because one of the things we try to help the collective church think about in their city is what is the key challenge in the city where the church can work together and really work with City Hall to make a difference. So we didn't do it. Like, we help facilitate more collaboration and more, but man, and this is where, Seth, we talk about in this work, prayer drives us. It was the prayer that brought the right leaders into City Hall. It was prayer that brought more churches into the picture. It was prayer that brought nonprofits to the table and things. So like, it's such an incredible opportunity to facilitate this teamwork, this collective thing, not even like run it or like be in charge of it all, but just help facilitate it all. So as a result of that working together, we now have a shelter, thanks to Judge Carter and the work of the city. We now have housing that's going up that it wasn't in 2012, that would have seemed impossible. And that's happening. And so again, we're not doing it, but it's because of this secret sauce, so to speak, of creating a collaborative approach that the church can model and lead and step into with the city and with nonprofits. That helps facilitate this kind of movement. So it's never any one group. I would, as Trellis, I wouldn't even claim credit for all that. But what I would say for sure is we've been a key part of helping catalyze collaboration and unity around that challenge. And we've helped really bring the church to the table in that, with the city, with the businesses, with the nonprofits. And that's what's made the difference. So
that's cool. And if I understand the concept of a trellis, just very simply in a garden or whatever, it's just simply a growing structure that allows the vine to go do its thing and work together and collaborate. And so it's like, we just provide the support, the facilitation and the support for all these awesome vines of the church to start collaborating. Working.
Exactly. And it's a different thing. It's really about creating a network. Like, it's a network in our cities, right? So if you think about the difference between a team and a network, a team is like the same guys in the boat rowing in the same direction. All doing the same thing. A team. And we tend to think about team. I thought a lot about team. But what I've realized in this work, it's really more about creating the right kind of network in your city. And a network is different because it's different streams. Think of a river and streams flowing down into that river. That's a network. The river is a network, right? So we want to create a river of love your city that has all these different things flowing into it, providing what they provide, but bringing more impact, more influence. So a team creates focus and impact, but a network creates influence and broader influence. And so what we're really wanting to do is see every church is one of those streams flowing down. Businesses are a stream flowing down. Nonprofits are a stream. The city. How do we create a network in our city of influence that's loving the city, that's really caring for the city? That's really our work, is kind of trying to help invite networks into the river so we can love the city more effectively.
I've heard you describe that once before, and I didn't understand the word influence, but I feel like something just dropped for me when you were talking about it. Because if you just posed a vision to the city and said, we all need to be a team rowing together, meaning like over you guys in Garden Grove, you need to be rowing like this. And then you guys over in Laguna Niguel, you need to be rowing like this, right? Like as if it was like one way to row to solve homelessness in the city or whatever it is. Like they'd be like, dude, you have no idea what our homeless challenge is very different than what it looks like in Costa Mesa.
Correct.
And so if you're able to empower that team to then join the larger movement, like of what's happening as we move towards healing homelessness, the influence impact is so much greater because it has their flavor of how they're doing it. It has their flavor of how they're doing. So the influence could actually really swell and grow much larger. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
And so the difference, like with the team, you have roles and expectations. With a network, the involvement is more episodic. So different teams, different churches, different nonprofit, they choose when they're going to engage around what, as it goes with the flow of the influence and the impact of the river. Yeah. And so it's a very different mentality. And so sometimes in a city movement kind of space, we can think more team, but there has to be a hybrid. Teams flow into that river as well.
Yeah.
But you have to understand when you're building a team and when you're creating a network and how the network moves.
So some helpful distinctions in the journey. Yeah. Yeah, because one of the main reasons why I wanted to have you on the podcast was just thinking through like, it's one thing to preach unity and to talk about it and to speak about it and to pray about it, which is all really important. And then it's another to actually be in a room with 20 county leaders and being like, all with their own vision, all with their own agendas, all with their own cities, and then unifying around this larger influence or this larger flow, as you talk about it, in this larger river. And we may be starting to unpack that a little bit with what you just talked about with some of those distinctions that you were talking about. But to me, it's pretty incredible to see a city move, much less a county just start moving as one, and then to do it in its individual way, in its self-appointed way, and to be able to just like. You're not throwing like all this prescription in, but you're throwing just enough scaffolding, just enough trellis, so to speak, to give it what it needs, right? Like it seems like a real art and a real dance to get a big ship like a county to start moving, right? Like, and I'm just really curious about some of those layers and tools and how that's even created. Like,
yeah, well, you're probably. It sounds simplistic, but I'm going to say it again. It really comes back to prayer.
Yeah.
Prayer is the biggest tool. Our number one value is prayer drives us. And so like you don't create, it's like, could Moses have split the Red Sea? No. But because of his trust and his faith in God, God could do it. Yeah. Right. So it's the same, like we can't, and we sometimes we talk about prayer in a very kind of, I don't know, weird way, where but really understanding prayer and the depth of prayer and how prayer shapes us, how it shapes our marriages, our families, our cities, our county.
I'd love to double click on this idea of prayer, because it's an easy throwaway to, like, when you say it, right? Like, I'm going to say it again, you know, and it's so easy for people to just be like, oh yeah, there's prayer again, you know, like,
yeah, there he goes again.
Yeah. And when you talk about prayer, like, in your mind, I almost think there's like these, like, there's these different ways of seeing it. Like, it's something that works on you. It's something that helps expand vision. It's used as a tool over here. Like, I mean, when you like unpack the pie chart of prayer, so to speak, like, I'm curious, like, how you see it as an, I don't even know if like, I'm calling it a tool in this conversation, but it sounds like there could even be, it's even more than that. Like, how do you use it, I guess, is maybe what I'm curious about in your leadership.
I think maybe this is the best analogy I can think of for it. It's what helps me. But when I think about my relationship with my wife, it is only as good as my communication is with her. Right?
Yeah.
If I'm just, you know, going to work, coming home, taking out the trash, doing my bit, she's doing her bit, and we're not communicating, there's no depth to understanding what's in my heart, what's in her heart, what's hurt us, where we need forgiveness, where we need to get on the same page and create something together, work on something together. Like, if our communication is not strong, our relationship is weak.
Sure.
And that's what prayer is with God. It's our communication. So when you say, like, if he's God, like, if he's really God, like, if he's where I get my meaning, my purpose, my significance, my direction, my hope, my grace, everything from, how I communicate with him is the key. And that's what prayer is. So sometimes prayer is listening, being quiet and shutting up and forgetting about what I want and just listening to him. And the way I listen is sometimes it's just being quiet. Sometimes it's opening up God's word and reading about Moses or Joshua or what Paul's doing with the church and just trying to listen for what he's saying. It's listening. And then it's also talking. It's like, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what, you know, I think you're leading me to want to be in with you. And so it's this communication that is much more than what we generally think of as prayer. And so there it shapes us. So when you're talking about a county and we think of God's people in our cities, in our county, like, the kind of prayer that in communication with God that we engage with him about regarding these things, the deeper it goes, the deeper he'll go. You know what I mean? The more he'll be in it with us, the more we're, and I think that is where it becomes a tool in your wording, is like taking it to that place. It's not just, oh, I'm going to pray through this list of names. I'm going to pray about this issue. Like, it's like, God, what do you want here? You know, it's just, prayer is so important to this whole thing, and to our lives. Like, if we really lean into it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about, as you were talking about that, I was thinking, like, wow, if 10 pastors start praying and then 100 pastors start praying and then these congregations start praying and then you get thousands of people that are starting to, like, and it's, you know, I always think of prayer, like the almost like the cheapest, lowest form is just like, we're just trying to get this we're trying to get this one thing done and we're trying to check the box. And if we get enough ralliers to pray about this, it'll happen, right? And it's like, yes, there is intercessory prayer where we're like, we're surging and longing for this thing and sharing those longings to the Lord. But like, as you were talking, I was like, gosh, like, as more people start understanding the heart of God, like in this topic of city or in this topic of homelessness or whatever it may be, it starts swelling and expanding and getting, like, opening up vision individually in each person in a collective thing. that then starts causing them to do radically different things because the vision's been expanded. Like God has opened up things or opened up possibilities or opened up like getting people out of fear and into love again so they can go take action, you know? I mean, it's like pretty insane. Yeah. When you start seeing it.
Yeah. You start hearing God tapping you.
Yeah.
When you're praying in such a way that you're listening, you know, one of the questions you precluded me with in this podcast was about how capacity expands. And I think the way capacity expands is also through prayer. It's by listening, because when you're listening to God, he's always going to lead you on an adventure.
Yeah.
It's always going to require faith. There's always going to be a tap on your shoulder to do things you're not uncomfortable with. Like for me, stepping off a staff with the crossing to do this was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Going to try to help more cities is uncomfortable. Like he always is pushing us to trust him for more, but that comes through prayer. That comes through listening to him, and it's being like, God, is this something you really are wanting, or is this just a good idea I have in my head? What's happening here? And a lot of times, quite frankly, it doesn't even seem like a good idea. It seems like an impossible idea that's stupid to do. Yeah. But he'll be like, no, this is what I want you to do. And that can be as simple as talking to somebody in the line at the grocery store, or it could be, you know, it could be as simple as any day-to-day thing. It's not about the size of what he asks us to do. It's about the willingness of what he asks us to do. But to your point, if people all over the county and in each of our cities are doing that, they're going to hear those taps and they're going to step into it. And that's what transforms, right? Yeah. And it could be God tapping someone on the shoulder to run for city council. Yeah. Or run for mayor, or like whatever, but they're doing it because he asked them to. It has a whole new flavor to it. Yeah. Right.
Dang. Yeah. I mean, that seems like one of the biggest ways to, like, how do you corral all these leaders in all these different cities? And how do you, it's like, well, I love what you said. Yeah. I don't corral them. Like, I just invite them to start praying and like God start corralling their heart in a lot of ways. And and then open up moments of conversation where we can all come back and start sharing what's going on. Right. And then someone probably courageous has to say, okay, like, what are we going to do? You know, like, let's go do something together, you know?
Yep.
So that's cool.
And that's where the picture of, you know, the network, dense network mentality of all these networks flowing into a river. Like it's just giving a little bit of shape. What's this river? What influence is this river going to have? And that's why we like to use love, like love Costa Mesa, love Mission Viejo, love Lake Forest, because that's, I mean, anyone can love if they choose. So, you know, and there's all different depths of how that love works for the church. We know that love flows from what Christ did for us. Yeah. But there's other people who love their city, and so they can be part of this network, this dense network that's loving the city, and we can work together. And in the context of that, God does just incredible things.
That's so cool. And I almost hear in that, if I'm breaking this down a little bit, like the Bible's full of these like almost meta visions that are so good for humanity. And so when you throw a word like love into the mix, people are like, no matter what someone's agenda is, they want more love, like in their own life, on their street, in their school, you know, in their neighborhood, in their business, you know, like everybody wants that, you know? And so it's so cool to see God just like drop some of these like larger visions, these larger words into the picture and go, what if you could rally around that? Like, what would that look like?
Yeah.
So I see that as like a tool or a way that you invite others to go rally around something even larger than their own city agenda.
Oh yeah, big time. Because love trumps it all. Like, right? Like how do you love our immigrant neighbors and at the same time even love these ICE agents who were trying to do their job. How do you love? How does love? What does love look like in that? Some people are going to be called to love particular people in a particular way, but if we're all trying to love and we can operate from a place of we're called to walk in love, let's do that better.
Yeah.
And let's have those conversations. Then it's hard to argue with that. We might argue about the politics of immigration or law enforcement or everything else, but love kind of trumps it all.
Yeah.
And not to use that word inappropriately, but love
in its truest form
is key. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're speaking around an issue like that's right now in our city, right? Like,
yeah.
Immigration, ICE, and like I guess I'm wondering, like, these things don't just like get healed in a second,
No, there's so much hurt that happens in it, and there's so many topics to debate in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is, and again, I know it's not just you or not just the Trellis staff that is courageously entering into conversations like that, but I'm picturing photos I've seen in the paper of like heated city hall meetings where you have like pro-Trumpers that are and it's just this really contentious space, and those are sad moments to watch just
because of the hate.
Yeah, because it's the opposite of love, right? It's just you're seeing it live, and I'm curious how does Trellis, if Trellis is seeing that, right, and or the church involved with Trellis is seeing that, like how. I'd just love to hear like what are some of like the entry points of like how you guys are wrapping around, say, that specific issue right now.
Well, it's creating a safe place for everyone to talk about it.
Yeah.
So like even just yesterday, we facilitated a city leaders gathering here in Costa Mesa at the Martha Herzog Center.
Yeah.
And we had the chief of police and interviewed her, and not just about this, but of course that came into it. We did a panel with a pastor that's dealing with it, with the school district, with a nonprofit that's dealing with it. And it was done in such a way that you're just creating a safe place for people to talk about it in an environment where we're trying to all understand, we're trying to love through it. There's certainly things that are broken and need to get fixed, but not focusing on like the political side of it, but the humane, loving response side of it. How do we lean into that? So getting clear on what the real challenges are. Like as this Hispanic pastor was talking about what the people in his church are facing. And as even the chief of police is talking about the realities of working as a law enforcement person, but still having to deal with, and just reassuring people where there is safety for them and where there is help. But yet at the same time, there's this federal stuff going on that we don't have control. So just creating a safe place for people to talk and be in it and share what's happening. And then we break out into pods where we're dealing with some real issues.
And is that sort of the genesis of where teams could start to emerge? Where
yes.
There's this pod turns into a collection of team that has a specific idea with a specific issue in a specific part of town, and they're like, we want to go.
So, for example, just as a very practical outworking of that, like there's many families struggling with food insecurity because of all of that. And so from that, there's a whole collective that's emerged that's trying to help relieve some of that food insecurity for those families. And, so that stuff emerges from having safe conversations and the ability to come together, and then people's hearts who are drawn towards certain ways to help solve things can start finding each other and working together. And so that's in our mind, but yelling and screaming at somebody about this or that or wrong. And this, like that doesn't generally lead to a lot of solution.
Yeah.
But when you create a safe place,
it's a fear-based response, right? Like those guys in the room probably wouldn't admit that, but somewhere deep down, fear is driving that conversation of conflict, right? Like, and it's like, I just love that model of like, hey, can we try the conversation over again?
Yeah.
But in a way that is modeled after God and God's love for people, and for healthy dialogue, and for a genuine care to hear, like a listening posture versus a speaking posture. And like, so I see Trellis as almost this, can we show you a different way? Can we show you a different example of how we could talk about this? And then to watch people reconnect with love again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, this is a loving way to have this conversation, and then break off in pods, and then watch people like start getting creative again on how to solve the thing, because love's at the core of it,
right,
rather than the contentious fear,
Yeah.
That's insane. That's so cool.
Well, and the thing is, it really does take all kinds. Like we need people to be advocates and to speak up. And we also need people to come together and have a civil, loving conversation.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's how things adjust, but it's just sort of respecting the different lanes that people run in and trying to get to the heart of it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can be out of fear, but a lot of times it's out of true concern, right? And there is a love behind that, but sometimes our love can make us so passionate it doesn't come out as love.
Yeah.
So like it's just trying to understand it. It's that principle in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, right? Seek first to understand before being understood.
Nice. Yeah.
I think a lot of times we like to be understood first. So it's creating an environment where we can try to understand, try to work through, try to come up with solution, and still love each other, right?
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Like as we're wrapping here, I was just thinking, Trellis is how many years old now?
Well, it depends on if you start with the grassroots.
When did we start
when we became a nonprofit? So really grassroots 2011, nonprofit 2013.
Okay.
Full time in this 2015. So
so we got a good healthy 11, 12 years on there. Yeah, that's so cool. So if you're looking at, say, the next 10 to 12 years of this thing, like, and I'm sure God's already like playing with like vision expansion in your heart and what you're longing for. Where's your heart like as you guys step into like the second 10 to 12 years of this thing?
Well, our big heart here is that we would love to see in all 34 cities in Orange County a team of pastors that are praying and working together in their city.
Yeah.
That's sort of the root of it. And as they're praying and working together, we just want to create a support system that helps them do that, helps them pray and figure out how to work together in their city. We want to create a support system that allows them to do that to the best of their ability in their city. And the cool thing is that we're seeing God raise up leaders in these cities. Of the 34 cities in Orange County, there's 22 of them now that we know of that have a group of pastors praying. And there's more emerge. I was on a call yesterday with a pastor in Rancho Santa Margarita that's going to start creating a regular ongoing prayer time there. And so like we're seeing God raise these leaders up, and we're just trying to create a support system for them. And then, beyond Orange County, we're just trying to help wherever we can. I'm involved with some cities across the country doing some coaching and helping, but just this is something we can't do, but we can help provide support for what God's wanting to do.
Yeah. And
we're seeing him do this, and we're trying to do our best to create the support system that will help it continue to advance, So if we could see all 34 cities, bro, in Orange County with a team of pastors praying and helping people figure out what it means to love your city and be involved. We have some things we're doing with that this year that we're hoping will help that.
Yeah.
So,
gosh, it's, you would know this world better than me, but I'm just thinking like that is such a unique vision where all cities within a county are operating in the vision that you just described. It just seems like kind of an unheard of concept. Like,
I remember, man, when we started this in Costa Mesa, and I had meetings with numerous lead pastors, and they're like, that'll never happen.
Yeah.
You can't do that. That's not going to happen. Yeah. And when talking just about Costa Mesa.
Yeah.
But when I think about what God's done in Costa Mesa since then, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so that when you have those little wins,
those anchors.
Yeah. And then God's asking you to do that and believe for 34. Okay, that seems impossible. Like that's what they were telling me back then, but I think that's what you want. So we're going to pursue it and trust God for it, and do what we can to stir the pot so that the flavors come together well, So
good, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful vision. It's a beautiful adventure God's inviting you into. And I just love seeing you continue to have the faith to say yes and keep pressing in and seeing what he does. And I know it's not just you, it's this whole collaboration and all this beautiful trellising that's happening with all these different beautiful vines. And so thanks, man, for laying out the story and showing us what it looks like to go create a movement like this. It's really beautiful.
Well, thanks for your encouragement and your help along the way. You've been a huge gift to me and to our organization. And I'm serious. Like, I'm not just saying that because I'm on your podcast. Like, I really mean it. And grateful for you too, Seth.
Yeah. Thanks, brother.
Yep.
Cool, man. That was great.
All right.